Welcome to Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton, where we equip pastors to take their churches from declining to thriving by pointing them to a new future and a new hope. Join us weekly for encouragement and practical advice in your pastoring journey.
Wow, this is a treat.
Why?
Because we are back with Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton, and we are in the hallowed halls of the North American Mission Board in their podcast studio.
Well, we snuck in here.
Yeah, we did kind of sneak
Kyle
in here, didn't
used
we?
a kitchen knife to jerry-rig the lock, and we got in here.
I'm Dan Hurst. There's Mark Hallock.
Hey, guys.
And across from the table is Mark Clifton.
Hey.
And Kyle Bierman here also with us, who's pushing buttons. And I want to start the subject that we're going to talk about today with this little incident. A few years ago, I was meeting church members in the critic line. And this family walked up, and this lady had her little boy with him, and he was tugging and pulling, and he was just like he was ready to go do something, And she says, "You better settle down," and she pointed at me, and they were ready to say hello to me, and she says, "Or the pastor will tell God on you." So with that in mind, we're going to talk today about things you as a pastor should know about the kids in your church, and really kind of what they should know about you.
Absolutely.
This is something that Mark wrote, a podcast or a blog that Hallock wrote. And so we were delighted to talk, because this is something we all have to encounter. There is an interesting relationship between pastors and the kids in the church, isn't there?
And sometimes we're always wanting to grow the church, and obviously that's what we want to do. And there's hundreds of podcasts out there on how to grow and how to break a 200 barrier and all this kind of thing. But why don't we just love the church we have to begin with?
Amen.
And sometimes we'd all like to have more kids in church. And some of you that listen to this podcast struggle because there aren't very many children in your church at all. But let's talk about loving the kids you have.
Yes.
Let's start with that and the ones that are there, and how do you love them well, and how do you connect to them well? Man, it is so important. And I think it's so easy to overlook it. I believe it might have been W.A. Criswell who said one time, man, the most important room in your church is the preschool nursery room, because I've never seen a 9-month-old come to church by himself. So if there's a 9-month-old in the nursery, there's probably an adult somewhere connected to that person. So children are really important. And Hallock, you've done an excellent job. Kyle's placed this blog on our link so you guys can read it. But talk to us a minute, Hal. I mean, It's so good. First of all, you got three things, right? Three main things. So, and the first one is what?
Well, let me say this. A key part of being a biblical shepherd pastor is it all begins with knowing your sheep. You got to know your sheep. And that includes knowing children. And so this article, I just try to kind of lay out three things you must know about the kids in your church. And so let's just start with number one. So the first one is just know their name and basic info. So, I mean, this is like 101 level.
So you shouldn't call every kid Buddy.
No.
Hey, Buddy, how you doing?
And here's what I would say. That's right.
Unless his name is Buddy, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess that works.
So.
It works. But yeah, know their name and then use their name. There's a big difference between saying, Buddy's okay. But when you say, hey, Johnny.
Yeah.
Whoa. The pastor knows my name.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. So we need to know the name, use their name, and that takes some intentionality.
It does.
Right? You got to, I would even say this week, if you're like, man, I don't even know all the names, I would say, well, if you got 10 kids, you can handle that. Like, you can learn the 10 names.
And one of the joys of pastoring a normative-sized church is you can know the name of every kid in your church.
Exactly.
And
that's
so
right.
Embrace the joy of pastoring a normative. Some of you out there listening, you're just struggling. You wish your churches were larger. I get that. But let's start with the church you have.
Yeah.
The 3 or 4 or 6 children in your church.
That's right.
And absolutely know their names.
So here's and then
and
it's
use
know their name, use their name, and then also under number one, it's just basic info. So things like this: how old are they? What grade are they in? Are you aware of that? Where do they live? What school do they go to? Do you know the name of their school? How many brothers and sisters do they have? How long has their family lived in this community? I mean, this is just basic information.
And I realize most of you live in a digital age, right? But back when I was in the day, what I would do is, when I was planting churches, have 3x5 cards and I would have names of families, and I would have that information on those names. And then during the week, I'd kind of refresh myself.
That's good.
Like I was studying for an exam, because I don't always remember things very well. But that way, somewhere on your phone or in your iPad or maybe on a piece of a notebook or whatever you carry, man, when you're aware of who they are, their name, the school they go to, the grade they're in, go ahead and write that down.
Yeah.
And then refresh your mind during the week. And so as soon as you see that child, you're able to say, and by the way,
that's exactly right.
As much as you can, get down on their level when you talk to them. Eye level as much as you can. Bend down a little bit.
That's right.
And get down on their eye level and talk to them. Say, hey, Karen, how's it going? Karen, and whatever.
Hey, Karen, that's a great name.
That's a great
Maybe
name.
that'll come back around.
There's a whole lot of 4-year-olds named Karen these days. There probably is one out there actually now. So I just made that mother mad. But
you're right. But you're right.
Hey, Kristen.
There you go.
Hey, Kristen. You're in
getting
second
closer.
grade now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But you know what? You're right though, because. And I would say this: let's just say you're going, man, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know how good I am with kids. Listen, here's what you got to do: just give a high five every time a kid comes in. Hey, buddy, can I give you a 5-5 or whatever his name is? Or give them knucks. Give them knucks. They love hitting knucks.
Yeah.
But that's just a real simple way to say, I love you, and I know you, and I care about you.
So know their name,
know their name,
age.
basic
I would
info.
say know their pets.
Ooh,
now one of the ways you can do
that's
that
good.
is you can follow them on Facebook. A lot
Yes,
of times their
that
parents
helps.
are going to post pictures and things on Facebook, and they'll show their dog or their cat or whatever. But know their pet's name and even talk about their pets a little bit.
Well, this was literally from this past Sunday. So I had there's a newer family to our church, and I was just out greeting, and the mom comes up to me and said, our youngest daughter Madeline shares a birthday with you, and Madeline is 8 years old.
Yep.
And I said, is that right? She said, yeah, she was so excited to hear that. Well, so what did I do? I beelined it to Madeline. I said, Madeline.
Yeah.
Do you know this? We share a birthday. And she just lit up.
Yeah.
I said, so we're going to get a cake together this next year.
That's awesome.
And it was just like, so Madeline and I now have this connection that's super sweet, But it's just being intentional. So here's number 2, okay? So if number 1 is know their name and basic info, number 2 is know what they enjoy. Know what they enjoy. And here's why. Like, if you think about even just marriage, what does your wife enjoy? Like, people like to talk about what they enjoy, what they're into. And so with kids, are they into sports? Do they like art? Do they like, what do they do? And then here's the thing. That gives you a question to ask every week that they're going to be excited to ask you about. But how did your game go this week? Or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I ask my kids to tell me something new every week.
Okay.
That they, particularly the things that they're really into. Now, what I found is most of them are really into jokes. So I want to hear a new joke from you.
Yeah.
Nick, I can't wait for you to tell me a new joke next week. Okay, and they come up with new jokes, that are new to them. But it's great because they make a beeline for you.
Yes,
they're planning this,
for sure.
And what you're talking about here, Mark, and this is something that I don't think necessarily come natural to a pastor, especially on Sunday morning, because our minds on Sunday morning are geared to a lot of things. Certainly our message we're preaching, but also new people who are there, perhaps couples we've counseled before that week, and we know how they're struggling, an older person who's dealing with dementia, and all these things. So there's a lot going through your mind, but be prepared on Sunday morning. I really mean this. Know ahead of time that these kids are going to be there. Like I said, as you said, know their name, know what grade they're in, and then when you find out the things they like, be intentional about asking them, just like you said, hey, how did soccer go this week? Or if they're into drama, some of them they might be in a little play at school. You ask them how that went. Talk about their pets. But man, just don't. One of the things you've got to be aware, especially in a normative-sized church, is don't be in a hurry around your people on Sunday morning.
Say it again, brother.
Do not be in a hurry. Walk slowly among your flock. Again, most of the guys who are listening to this, like me, we pastor churches of less than 100 people. Man, take some time. And you pastor a much larger church, and you still walk slow.
Just walk slow. You got to walk slow, man.
Walk slow and know them and talk to them and be intentional.
Right.
And with the kids, as I said, sort of get down on one knee or bend down and look them eye to eye as best you can.
Because here's the thing, Clifton, that just so you know, as we're thinking, one of the things we found over the years is one of the ways you're going to win the hearts of young families is the way you treat their children.
Absolutely.
Like when they're coming, mom and dad, they're watching you.
Absolutely.
And if they see a pastor who values their child
I know.
and loves their child, I can tell you this, they're probably going, I'm in.
And that child, look, my mom for years, for 40 years, my mother did preschool in our churches, mostly 2 and 3 year olds. And she was adamant about the fact that, a child's personality is developed primarily by the time they're 5. And so when you're talking about a 2 and 3 year old, do they understand theology? No. Do they But they know that when I walk into this place called a church, that I'm loved and it's a safe place. It's a different place than the rest of the world. The adults there care about me, and they are forming an opinion of God by the way we relate to them at age even 2 and 3 years
That's
old.
the reality. That's right.
And so if you have a 3-year-old and you just talk to mom and dad, you never even look down at them. That's like everybody else in the world. But if you look down to them, if you get down on their level and you talk to that 3-year-old and talk about, listen, they love talking about if they have any kind of new shoes, kids love to show off their shoes. And Dan mentioned, if they got new shoes, they bet you can run really fast in those shoes.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you can jump high in those shoes. Man, I wish I had a pair of shoes like that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, church becomes a place where the kid wants to go on Sunday morning.
Right.
And you're forming something in their heart, their little young heart, as best you can. Don't overlook them. And I love what you say, man.
So good.
Know what they enjoy and talk about what they enjoy. It's really important.
That's right. Well, and so this leads to the third thing we want to know. So again, number 1, know their name and basic info. Number 2, know what they enjoy. And number 3, as best you can, know where they are spiritually. Know where they are spiritually. And again, I'm talking a very basic level, but a basic level is really important. Do they love Jesus? Are they coming from a home where they don't know much anything about Jesus? If you're reaching unchurched families, are they interested in baptism? These are the things you want to be sensitive to. What are the questions they're asking? And because again, these are little sheep, man. These are little sheep that the Lord has brought to you that you're accountable to the Lord for. And so even from a young age, there can be such a sensitivity. Some people say, they're little kids. They don't. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, the way the Lord works in the lives sometimes of a 5-year-old, I want to be sensitive to that,
And most of us, as I said, who listen to this podcast, we don't have children's ministers, all right? Some of you may have them, and that's great. And that children's minister in your church, they can be the one that can really sort of be on top of where these kids are spiritually and those kind of things. But most of us, we don't have we might have a Sunday school teacher or someone who watches the nursery. But it's going to be up to you as the pastor of this normative-sized church to be the children's minister.
Yeah, that's right.
And that means, as you said, you've got to take an awareness of what is their spiritual condition. And Hurst, here's the challenging part for pastors. We grew up, those of us in Southern Baptist life, if I say age of accountability, we kind of know what that means, but let's be honest, we don't know what that means. Frankly, what is the age of accountability? Is it 6? Is it 9? What happens before that? What happens after that? There's some, and some of us aren't comfortable not being clear, so we just don't deal with it. Yeah. But we need to look at that. There are some 5-year-olds that spiritually are really receptive, and their hearts are warmed. There are some that are 12 that haven't quite.
That's exactly right.
Yet.
They're not even there.
And it's really up to you as the pastor to know them and to know that. And it can be frustrating because we don't. It's not a clear line, and we don't know exactly what that means, and so it's easy just to look past that and not even deal with it. But you say here, first as a pastor, do they love Jesus? That's the first. Yeah. Do you sense that they love him and they want to talk about him and they talk positive about him? Yeah. Do they love Jesus?
Yeah. Along that line, Mark, I think you were saved when you were what, 6 or
6? Yeah.
And it was a legitimate transformation for you, not world changing.
No,
but it was real.
It was real.
But I didn't get saved till I was 18.
And we both grew up in identical homes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Our dads were Southern Baptist pastors. They went to college together. They were best of friends.
Yep.
And so you were 18 and I was 6.
Yeah. And what that has made me sensitive to the fact that kids, for example, that grow up in the church may not be saved, may know all the right answers.
That's right. Yep.
Because they've learned it in Sunday school, but they've never had a real heart-to-heart transformation.
That's right.
In a relationship with the Lord. And what I've discovered is that when I'm listening to their questions, I'm understanding where they are. You know, I had a little girl come up to me the other day, and she says, "Are ghosts real?" And I could have blown that off.
Right.
You know, it would have been real easy. Yeah. But listen, that little girl had been thinking about that question. Yeah. She wanted to know. And the fact that she thought that I could answer it is a privilege.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So when the little child asks you a question, that's a privilege.
It is.
Don't take it lightly. It's really important. That child is pondering some of these issues in their life right now.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me too. You know, we did a podcast a while back, and Bierman, maybe you can post this, where we talked about how do we know? How do I know if my child is ready for baptism?
Right.
And so we talk about 4 or 5 because it's a discernment thing. It really is in terms of where are they spiritually. But you're exactly right. It all begins with listening and taking time to actually try to
and
discern.
to shepherd the heart of a child. There is a book.
Ted Tripp.
Ted Tripp. You can put it on the links. Shepherding the heart of a child. And so let's take for a second here and say, as a pastor, you got to be intentional, and you got to be strategic, and you got to be committed to shepherding the heart of the children in your church. And as you've already said, Mark, it starts by just knowing their name, being engaged with who they are, engaging them in conversations, having relationships, friendships with them. But then it goes beyond that.
Yes, that's right.
Do they love Jesus? Have they surrendered their life to Him?
Yep.
Have they been baptized?
Yep.
You know, and are they struggling with doubt?
And the answer to that is yes.
They are struggling with doubt.
They are.
And yet you can have, as a pastor, you have to be discerning. You can have a 5 or 6 year old who can answer yes to all of those.
Yeah.
You can have a 12-year-old who doesn't know any of those, and they're from the same family. It's this tremendous spectrum of when they really mature spiritually, and you just can't take that for granted.
You know, that's a good point, because you're right. Where there's a family of children, this is why knowing each sheep individually is so important, because you can throw them all into
You can't do that.
They're not in the same.
No.
That's right. They're all different.
No, we've all had grandchildren where maybe a 5 or 7-year-old grandchild, man, they come to know Jesus and they want to be baptized and they're answering the right questions, and you can tell in their heart it's changed. And they got a 9-year-old sister who isn't opposed to Christ, comes to church, but has not felt that compulsion to do that yet.
Yeah.
And so, again, that's just part of. Now, this is sort of where it all comes together. It's also up to us as pastors, especially of normative-sized churches, to help prepare parents to be gospel-guided parents.
Yes.
How do I shepherd the heart of my child? Because I know really of course, I was raised by mom and dad. My dad was a pastor, but I asked my mother questions about becoming a Christian. I asked even more so than my dad, frankly, because he was a pastor. But I remember having some conversations with my mom when I was 5 and 6 years old about, what if I want to be a Christian? I want to be baptized, and so they're going to ask the parents, have we equipped the parents to answer those questions appropriately?
It's so good.
Well, and one of the whole things that we haven't even discussed on this point, and it really does throw a wrench in it, is what if they're a blended family?
Oh, yeah.
And or what if the family, the mom and dad are separated?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That child is dealing with a whole different level of issues. True. And where does God enter into all of that?
And also, please, man, this is worth tuning into the podcast for. If you've got some blended families, you've got some kids who are going to spend some weekends with the other parent, and they're not going to be in church that week. Dude, know about that. Yeah. Be enough aware about their situation to know, so that you're not going to ask Kristen, hey, we missed you last Sunday.
Yeah,
where were
make him
you?
feel guilty.
Well, I was with my dad, in another town. You just know, don't bring that up. Don't make them have to relive that in church, that they were gone last week because they spent that weekend with a different biological
It's already
parent.
weird for them.
It's already weird
painful.
for them.
Yeah.
Don't make them feel bad. And finally, are you ready? Bum, bum, bum. Okay, this is. I'm serious.
Did you just smack
I
Bierman?
Did. No, I just hit him on the shoulder because I want you to know this. Oh, please, 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 pastors, as much as you possibly can, don't use the phrase broken home in your sermon, in your discussion. I know you mean well when you say we have all the kids from broken homes or all these broken homes. You got a 7-year-old out there that they're from a dysfunctional home. they don't need to hear you label their home as broken, all right? It's not their fault. They didn't break it. There's nothing they can do about it. They already feel a little sometimes out of place because there's some intact families around you, and you're basically saying the other kids, they're from the really good homes, but boy, all those poor kids from the broken homes. Just don't do that.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I mean, there's other ways you can present it, but just be careful how we say things like that, all right?
So good, man.
All right, love the kids in your church, know who they are. And by the way, if you love the kids in your church, you know who they are, and you treat them well, and you shepherd them well, it's altogether possible that Jesus will bring other kids to your church.
That's exactly right. That's right.
Well, I didn't think this podcast would last this long, to be honest with you. When I looked at the subject, I said, "Oh, do that question? Okay, that question, it'll be over with." But then, Hallock wrote the blog, and I thought, well, he pretty much answers it all.
That's right.
Check out the notes, for the podcast. You'll find a lot of insight there, and it'll really make a difference in a whole new ministry that may open up for you and an opportunity to reach families in your community. Thank you for being a part of our podcast. Please subscribe if you're given that option on the platform that you listen. And tell your friends about us. I mean, let them know. Fellow pastors need to know about this, even if they're not in a revitalize or replant situation, and believe me, they are. But we need to know, they need to know and have some insights to their ministry, and it'll bless them also. Thank you for being a part of what we do, and thank you for praying for us.
Thanks for joining us today on Revitalize and Replant. This podcast is brought to you by the North American Mission Board, where we help dying or struggling churches regain health for the glory of God and the good of their communities. If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. To learn more about becoming a replanting pastor or to explore resources about revitalization for your own church, visit churchreplanters.com.